Once a year, Ontario's Auditor General releases a report that usually captures a great deal of attention, and this year is no exception. From running sting operations on casinos to exposing potential postal code discrimination by auto insurance companies, the auditor has been busy trying to determine whether we're getting adequate value for the nearly $200 billion tax dollars the Government of Ontario spends every year. The province's current Auditor General, Bonnie Lysyk, just released her 10th and final annual report, and we're glad she's accepted our invitation to come to our studio and tell us more about what she learned. Great to have you back here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I can't believe it's 10 years since we did our first interview here in the studio.
Yeah, it was the gas plants. That was the first
Yes, it was.
report
Yes,
I
it
tabled.
was. Back in the day. All right, let's go through some of the findings in the immediate term here, and then we'll save the big existential questions for the end, okay?
All right.
You had some of your officials pose as auto insurance purchasers, and you discovered that if you're in London, Ontario, trying to get auto insurance, and you represent this sort of typical demographic, $1,200 for premiums. You go to Brampton, more than $3,000 for premiums. What do you infer from that?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to confirm. We'd heard that, so we did that exercise. My staff phoned around. We confirmed it. I think in the report we recommend that that be looked at. That the regulatory authority, the FRSA, take a look and see whether or not there could be discussions with the insurance industry and see whether there could be more equity in the billing.
We've heard this business about postal code discrimination. Do you think that's what's going on here?
You know, I think they use that as a component in determining what premiums will be for people. It's one component of a number of them, but it's probably worthy of a look by the regulator to see, you know, how it's calculated. And there is a new team at FSRA that new board, new management team, and they're probably keen to get more of an understanding in that.
I got to ask you about this juicy sting operation that you ran, okay? This is the money laundering with regard to casinos. Tell us what you did.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to verify. So as auditors, we're checking internal controls. So our auditee was the Ontario OLG.
Lottery and Gaming.
That's right. And Lottery and Gaming partner with casino operators. So they basically have privatized sort of the operation of the casinos. And one of the rules is that you do not issue a check at a casino if you don't prove that somebody was actually playing and that there's winnings. And so we tested the internal control by having people go into the casinos and see whether or not they could get a check. And so we did that at one casino. They were fine. They were following the rules.
Which one?
That was
Windsor, I think.
Well, Windsor didn't issue checks, so that's correct. Windsor was fine. There was a smaller one where they did get caught, and there is. So they did get caught. In the other two, they didn't, and checks were issued to them. So it did confirm that in a couple of the bigger casinos, they weren't being as tight in checking to make sure that there was play and that there were winnings that would support a person getting a check. So if you get a check, and you can deposit that check into a bank account, and it's with money that isn't clean money, that cleanses the money, and that's the money laundering exercise.
Yeah, the whole idea here, you're trying to prevent people from bringing outside money in, getting a clean check, basically laundering their money. It could be ill-gotten gains or whatever.
That's correct. And OLG was fine with this. Their board and their management team have concerns around money laundering. So in our report, they responded and they said, you know what, we're going to look and make sure now we have something to discuss with our operators to tighten up the policy.
Ontario Lottery and Gaming was fine with it. The Premier wasn't. What'd you make of that?
You know, I mean, the Premier spoke and you know, I listened. I take any time there's comments into account in what we do and how we do it. But I think, you know, money laundering is not a good thing to have. It's not a policy issue. It's against the law. And given our auditee understood right at the beginning it was an audit criteria and we would be testing that, we were right to conduct that exercise and see whether or not they needed to tighten up the controls at the casino operators.
Did the Ontario Provincial Police have a problem with what you did? Because this you would think would be normally in their lane.
Yeah, when they did catch, the casino reported a few people to the OPP, And the OPP investigated and found out that they were actually working with us and checking to see that the internal controls were operating. So they did correspond with me. They said, you know, here's what we found. We did spend some time on this. If we think there's anybody that's associated with this exercise, we won't be investigating. I wrote back and said, thank you very much. If there is somebody that you think could be associated with us, just let us know so we know that, you know, you've been informed by the casino operator as well. So that's how it went.
Let's talk PPE, personal protective equipment. We, of course, ordered hundreds of millions of dollars of it during the worst of COVID. Yeah. Do we know how much of that money was ill spent?
Yeah, they're right now sitting in inventory at March 31st. There was about $1.5 billion that hadn't been used yet. For the year ended March 31st, 2022, the province had to write off about $66 million that was either obsolete already, that was not of good quality, or damaged. And there is a risk that there will be KN95 masks that are sitting at around $80 million in value that would have to be written off by 2030 if they're not used. So there is, I think our key message in that audit is that you need to make sure you've got a good inventory system, make sure that that product is being rotated through the hospital system, long-term care, other users, so that at the end of the day, the province does not have to write off more than the $66 million.
You pointed out 94% of urban centres in this province are seeing a decline in green space. Why is that important?
Yeah, I think, I mean, given the push on development and the want to have, you know, more density, you have to take into account how much green space there is, because when there's heavy rainfall, it acts as a sponge. And when it acts as a sponge, there's less potential damage, you know, urban flooding to residential areas. So that just needs to be taken into account. And, people also need to know when they're building houses in more dense areas that they could put in backwater valves during construction. It's about $250. If they decide they want to put it in an existing house, it gets up in value $2,300. And then if you actually get damaged because you don't have that and you have urban flooding, it could cost you about $40,000 in insurance to get it, you know, through your insurance company to get it fixed. So we're pointing all that out mainly from a preventative measure, as well as, you know, people that work in the municipalities aren't operating consistently in the messaging with people of how important backwater valves are.
We have an invasive species problem in this province, and we have a Ministry of Natural Resources that's supposed to do something about it. How are they doing?
Yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. There's not enough resources, either people or money, dedicated to that. And so there is a situation where invasive species are entering Ontario, and more needs to be done to identify them sooner and put in place measures to prevent further spread.
Now, for example, when you make that recommendation to government, you don't have enough people on this file, you need more people.
Yeah.
Do they listen to you and hire more people?
You know, in the area of environment, it hasn't been the case. We've pointed out in a number of audits where things that need to be done in accordance with legislation aren't getting done because the resources aren't there. I mean, it is a government choice as to where to allocate dollars. This isn't the only area. We do see that with a lot of legislation in Ontario, a lot of promises through that legislation that the resources aren't there, like there isn't sufficient resources available to do everything. And so, you know, it is up to government to choose what to do when. But we point out where there are deficiencies in compliance with legislation.
Well, let me follow up on that in another way, because, of course, your report comes out every year, and it's usually a litany of things that government could be doing better. And then you usually have a checklist saying, you know, we've consulted with the ministry, here's what they've promised to do. Do you actually go back in subsequent years and see whether or not they've actually fulfilled the recommendations they promised to employ?
We do. When we do a report, we put recommendations out. We incorporate people's responses to those recommendations, and where they've made commitments, 2 years later, we go back and we follow up. We then go back another 3 years for the next 3 years after those 2 years and do continuous follow-up to successively ask the question, how is it going? Are you implementing it? We were very pleased when we saw the 2-year follow-ups from the audits we did 2 years ago, particularly the COVID audits we did. We're seeing high implementation rates of the recommendations.
70%.
Yeah, it's, in one case, I think it's 88% on the one dealing with the emergency management operations. They've done a complete restructuring of that function and really good. And I think they're making improvements in a lot of the areas, and they were making improvements as COVID was progressing.
Shall we get into some of the bigger existential questions now? Your good friend from the Toronto Star, columnist Martin Regcon, who loves to write columns going after you, had this to say. Here we go. But as Bonnie Lysyk winds down her controversial 10-year reign as Ontario's Auditor General, poking and probing the bureaucracy in a perennial quest for publicity, it's worth asking one last time, who audits the auditor? Who watches the watchdog? Do we fully understand her mandate? Does she? Now, I have to confess, he pretty much writes the same thing every year, right? He's got a thing about this. He wants to know whether you're too far out over your skis, as the expression goes, whether, as the Premier's expression goes, you're staying in your lane, or whether mission creep has set in. And I want to play a clip from your news conference last week as to how you responded to that when that issue came up at the time. Sheldon, the clip, if you would.
During my tenure as Auditor General, I have worked with successive minority-majority governments led by different political parties. While governments and political philosophies change, the primary goal of my independent office has been unwavering: to maintain the focus of our work on providing objective, nonpartisan, and fact-based information to all members of the legislature and Ontarians on whether taxpayer money is being well spent.
You hit hard there on the word independent. Mm-hmm. How come?
Oh, it's very important. I mean, all our work is premised on the fact that it's fact-based. We're transparent in the work we do. We publish what we do and how we do it, and to be trusting, have the public trust us, we need to maintain independence. We're nonpartisan. That is a condition of working in our office. I haven't voted. I don't vote, and I think it's important so that people know that they're getting fact-based information without a partisan slant on it. In terms of how we audit and what we audit, we follow CPA standards. We get audited by financial statement auditors. We get inspections by CPA Ontario. We have an internal peer review auditing process in the office where people review others' files. And we also, within the legislative audit community in Canada, we audit attest files in other offices. They audit ours, and we audit VFM in other offices, and they audit our office.
So how come Martin Regcon still writes the same column every year saying who audits the auditor, and do you guys stick to your lane enough?
That's a good question for
Have you taken him out for coffee and tried to charm offensive with him?
I've met Martin maybe once in a handshake in a restaurant, and that's as far as that's gone. But I do respect people have different opinions, and controversy makes things, I suppose, interesting. But I think it's important for the public to understand that we audit according to a methodology that's been in place for probably 25, 30 years. We have good internal quality assurance around what we look at. We have internal discussions about, should we say it this way, should we say it that way, and we question whether we're within our mandate all the time. It's important. And so credibility for us is important so that people can trust our office.
Let me follow up on that, because I think, once upon a time, auditors used to say, we're going to watch how the government spends the money, period, full stop. Mm-hmm. And then in more recent years, well, you tell me if it's a change of philosophy, but the words lately used are, we're going to check value for money.
Right.
You could argue those are two different things. How narrowly or broadly do you think the Auditor General's office should be interpreting its mandate?
The practice of value for money auditing, and it's called many different things. It could be called performance auditing, systems auditing, comprehensive. It's evolved depending on which jurisdiction in Canada you're in. The methodology stemmed from McNedell way back in, I believe it was the 80s, 90s, and that approach has been consistently applied year over year over year. So the approach is not different. I think issues that we're tackling probably as government becomes more complex, what we're tackling becomes more complex. But we apply auditing procedures the same way that they would have applied auditing procedures quite a few years ago.
Okay, well, let me check on that with
Yeah.
you, because we've had casinos in the province for probably over 30 years now.
Yeah.
We weren't running sting operations on casinos 30 years ago. We are now. Does that mean that you're getting out over your skis, as they say?
No, and I wouldn't call it a sting operation. I would call it more checking internal controls. And I think the other part of this is more and more government services are getting pushed out for delivery to other third parties. And so, when it was OLG, a casino at OLG that was delivering services, whatever we were auditing at the time of OLG would have been tested. In 2014, we looked at OLG's modernization approach, and we had certain audit criteria, and we executed on those audit criteria. This year, the team sits back and says, where are the risks? And based on a risk assessment, those are the things that we look at. And we know from the Cullen report in British Columbia, and we know from German's report way back, that money laundering was a huge issue in BC and, continues to be an issue. But we know from their work that they've said that has become an issue in Ontario. And so when we met with OLG, and I think my team discussed the criteria, it was one area of interest to look at. So all the audits are risk-based that are fitted to the period of time when the work is done. And when there's third parties that are involved now, so like OLG is to be the conduct and manager still of Gaming Ontario, our testing of a casino operator's control is like testing an OLG control, because now they're doing that on behalf of OLG.
Do you believe you have all of the legislative authority you need to do your job as well as it needs doing?
I do. I mean, I think we ran into a situation when we audited Laurentian University this year where the university didn't consider itself part of the broader public sector, which it specifically is in legislation, and didn't agree. They were going through a CCA process, so they were getting advice, and the advice to them was do not share information with the audit office. And so that did take us into a situation where we had to test a couple sections of the Act before the courts. Unfortunately, at that point in time, the court didn't support the interpretation of the Act that we were working with, and that has been appealed, and we're awaiting the results of the appeal. But that section that's being looked at guides all of our work in the office, not just Laurentian. So when I say it's important that we be independent and that we have unfettered access to information and people, that will be important on a go-forward basis as to whether or not the office can continue to do the great work it's done over the years on behalf of the legislature and Ontarians. So that is something to watch, I think, and we will continue to, keep our fingers crossed. And if not, I would then be looking to the legislature there is a private member's bill before the legislature right now that has a suggested wording if we're not successful. And I would hope that the government would be supportive to keep us whole, because the work we did on Laurentian was work that we were requested to do by a committee of the legislature.
I should do a thing here. Let the record show you raised Laurentian. I used to be the chancellor there up until 2020, I think. Once all this CCAA stuff hit the fan, I resigned. Ceremonial role, no involvement in any of this kind of business, preside over convocation, that kind of thing. But I should ask the follow-up question. You had to go to the extraordinary length of getting a speaker's warrant in order to get them to release information to you that you were legally entitled to. How do you think the university handled itself during this?
Yeah, I mean, it started, I think we were requested to do it. When we couldn't do it, I went back to committee and I said, committee, I'm having some trouble getting access to the information we need to do. Now, it wasn't really an issue of privilege, it was the veil of privilege. So it's like somebody says to you, we can't give you it because it's privileged. And our thought is, well, and the way we've operated through the years is just show us. And if it's privileged, we're not going to make it public because we respect privilege. But by just telling us, we're supposed to trust somebody that they're not hiding something. And so it makes auditing difficult. So we went back to the committee, and the committee was supportive. They tried to get the information from Laurentian themselves directly. Laurentian was pushing back. And they then made a request to the legislature, and it was the legislature that then decided to do the vote and issue the speaker's warrants and to obtain information for the committee. When the committee received the information, they then provided it to us. It's a tool. It's not. It's a significant tool, and I extend appreciation to the committee and to the legislature for obtaining the information for us. But it's not a workable solution on an ongoing basis. Up until that point, people have cooperated, and we have received information. And so my hope is that was an exceptional case. The difficulty with depending on the legislature or committee to get us information is you still don't have the ability to talk openly with people. You don't have the ability to question the documents openly. So it was one way to get more affirmation that what we were looking at and where we were going with the report was correct. But the ideal situation would still always be working with oddities, cooperating both ways, and obtaining access to information so that we can really do our work quickly, more thoroughly, and provide recommendations to get organizations just to move forward rather than dwelling on the past.
And for the record, you checked 4 other post-secondary institutions in this report. I think it was Algoma, Ontario Tech, geez, I'm going to forget the other 2, Nipissing.
And Windsor.
And Windsor. And you found the books all kosher there.
Oh yeah, and they were extremely cooperative. They were very good universities to work with. They understood that they were part of the broader public sector. And we did look at the finances, and they are financially sustainable. There is, a huge dependency, a necessity of dependency on student tuition, foreign student tuitions. But yeah, they've got their paths forward, and they're working away trying to make sure that they'll maintain their financial sustainability.
We're down to our last minute here, and this is your last annual report, right?
Yes, it is.
Your 10 years are up. So I wonder if we could finish by having you tell us what advice you would give to your successor, because you're not allowed to be reappointed, right? It's 10 years and out.
That's correct. That's correct.
What advice would you give your successor?
I would say, you've got to have backbone. You've got to have backbone. You have to be resilient because, and I think you need to get into the topics and understand what you're talking about, understand what everyone is, all these issues that are coming up. And you got to make sure you protect the office's independence, do fact-based audits. We have a great group of people in the office, extremely qualified. That's important to foster and continue. And keep a sense of humor, keep positive. Do not lose your positiveness, because if you lose that, you have nothing, right?
Even when the politicians come after you and say, that auditor's making terrible recommendations, we don't buy this.
That's part of the job. You got to be able to handle that, and you got to be able to accept that not everyone's going to like what you do, but you do it the best you can, and you keep your eye on who you're doing this for, and you're doing it for members of the legislature of all parties, and you're doing it for the citizens of Ontario. And if you keep your eye on that, you feel good at night.
Who was the most secretive, uncooperative premier you had to deal with out of all of them?
You know what? I other than the odd clip where somebody's saying something, I don't think I had bad relationships with people. I think there's probably isolated incidences where the findings of our work maybe hit a soft point. But I don't think I've built my years in this office on creating negative relationships. So I like to think that they would feel the same way, and I'm hopeful that I've created a lot of good relationships and along the way as well. So.
Good luck with whatever comes next.
Well, thank you very much.
That's Bonnie Lysyk, Auditor General of the Province of Ontario.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.